to the Mavs Fans for Life podcast. I am Landon Thomas, joined by my co-host Shahnavaz, Makhani. Shahnavaz, we only got a few days away from the season opener. How are you feeling about this season in totality with the NBA?
It's basketball season, man. I'm excited. This is the perfect time for sports. You got hockey just started. You're right in the middle of NFL and college football. My Horns beat the Sooners last week, which is awesome. It's been a great week. Good. Feeling great. And now you got Mavs basketball starting and just basketball in general, right? That means college basketball's going to start soon, too. It's a World Series about to start. I mean, this is the perfect time if you're a sports fan.
Yeah, isn't the end of October, early November, like the best time of the year?
Yeah. Dodgers just clinched last night. They're going to be in the World Series again for the second time. And you got Blue Jays Mariners. So World Series should start this week. And you got the start of basketball. This is the perfect time if you're a sports fan, man. I mean, you got something to do every day.
I would hope so. I mean, their bankroll is like, what, $1 billion?
Yeah, they're paying more in luxury tax than I think half the teams are in salary. So
can you imagine if the NBA was like that with no salary cap?
If just everyone would be on the Lakers. It's like it's just that's it. It would be awful.
Their 15th man is making $100 million.
That's ridiculous. Yeah, oh my god. And it's the same owners too. That's the crazy thing. Yeah. Well, I guess now it is. Yeah, because
the Clippers and Mavs will have some say in that.
Yeah,
with the money that they have.
That's true. Yeah, Ballmer would definitely shell out. I mean, he did it under the table for Kawhi, so if it's legal, why not?
I have an appreciation for trees now. I have
yeah, there you go.
They need some respect.
That whole saga is so funny.
It's crazy. All right, so this episode, we are days away from the season opener. Is this training camp preseason is coming back, went by quick. But this episode, we'll be talking about this big Monstars lineup from the Mavericks. The last two games, especially the last game, because a couple games ago we saw Lively only play a few minutes just for rest, in Klay Thompson as well. But last game we saw a lot of Cooper Flag at the point. If he really played point, it was pretty much everybody. Thompson, PJ Washington, AD, and Lively. And then we'll talk about the story of preseason, really, is the assist machine, Ryan Nembhard. I mean, my goodness, he really didn't miss a beat since his senior season. And then we'll finish with season predictions. We always do this every year. Who knows if we're right? Who knows if we're wrong? But it's always fun to predict because everyone's wrong. There's always something in the season that happens. We'll be talking about where the Mavs will finish, and then MVP, Coach of the Year, Defensive Player of the Year, Sixth Man, and then we'll finish with Rookie of the Year. So Shahnavaz, I mean, let's just get into the big lineup from the Mavs. It's pretty much versatility, but you have Cooper in there, you have PJ in there. That's the biggest question of the offseason. Who's going to start? And they're both starting. It could change with Jason Kidd. He could throw a wrinkle in there, just experimenting, and then D'Lo starting. But from what we've seen in the last two games, what's your assessment on playing all your bigs in the starting lineup?
I think it's going to be matchup dependent. It's you and I talked about this before the show. I think it's depending on who you're going to play and who your opponent is. You have that ability now to where you can, that I think there's a trust in Cooper Flag to be able to be maybe not your lead ball handler, but at least pick up some of the slack, right? And then you've got veterans like Klay and PJ and AD who have handled the ball before. I mean, you're not going to have a true point guard out there if you run that big lineup, but we saw it work. Granted it's preseason. I don't take anything, I don't take much from preseason, but that's your time to experiment and see if things are going to work. And the one question that's going to arise is your 3-point shooting out of that, because we saw the Mavs struggled with that, of course. And so are you comfortable playing, pretty much an inside game, knowing that your defense is going to be, that's probably your best defensive lineup as well, right? Yeah. Is with Cooper at the point and then throwing out PJ Lively and AD in your front court. So defensively, you're going to be fine. It's really your scoring and your playmaking that's gonna take a hit there. And so I think depending on the matchup, against a team like San Antonio, the Mavs play Wednesday opening night. That's maybe where you try it, because they've got, obviously when you've got a guy like Wemby, you need a bigger lineup out there to defend a guy who's like 7'8", And it's one of those things where, do you trust Lively to be on him the entire time, or do you want guys rotating on him like AD and PJ and even Cooper Flag at some point in time, right? So, they can exploit the mismatch if D'Angelo Russell's out there with Wemby on the court at the same time. And so, my only question again is going to be the shooting. That's the one question I think for the Mavs outside of injury concerns. One thing is going to be the playmaking and the shooting. And so really you've got to assess it opponent by opponent. And we've seen Jason Kidd tinker with lineups, throughout the season. There hasn't, I think in his tenure, there hasn't really been, kind of a set lineup. We've seen people come, there's fixtures obviously that, with Kyrie and Clay and all that, but there's interchangeable parts, right? We saw the switching between Lively and Gafford last year, depending on the matchup. So I think you're going to see a lot of the same this year, depending on who the Mavs are playing on that given night.
Yeah, I just haven't seen enough of it, and that's what it is right now. Because, and it's funny to say that because yesterday, Jason Kidd was asked about the identity of the team, and he said we're still searching for it. Because when you think about that, you're like, hey, the season opener is a few days away. Like, don't you have an identity set? Because Lively ahead of that said that the identity was defense. The identity is be the best defensive team you can, and then the offense will come. But from a coach's view, I really see that from Kidd. Like, hey, we're still searching for it.
Mm-hmm.
It might come naturally because you really don't know what your identity is without Kyrie. So I think the first few games, especially, well, thank goodness they're at home. Because that really will set you, there will be some sort of comfort, even though last year they played better away. But I think that's because just the afterthought and the result from the trade.
Yeah.
But now you see it with the fans in the arena. They're really moving on. And, you can see it from Twitter. It still stings. But when you're in the arena and in preseason, they're really moving on. There's no hostility. They're really cheering. I think, thank goodness they got Cooper Flag, because he really changes the environment. Like, it's crazy because with a big trade like that, you think it's going to take a couple of years to bounce back. But when you get Cooper Flag, you really bounce back quick because you see all the jerseys already bought. You see you feel it. You feel it when he has the ball. Everyone's anticipating a nice move or athleticism, a big dunk or something like that. Because that really just does change the dynamic. So I think there will be more comfort at home with the players this season. But going back to the identity of the team, I think like Kidd, I need to see more of it to really see where the Mavs are going to get their shots. Really see, like you mentioned, the 3-point shooting. That's a major concern with D'Lo or without D'Lo in the starting lineup because he's streaky as well.
Yeah.
So Clay is really the only consistent 3-point shooter, and he's been a little rocky in preseason. But like you said, I want to see it in game setting because it's like you take preseason for what it is, but I feel like also you don't. But in that season finale, the dress rehearsal, I think that you can take for what it is because that's a dress rehearsal. So if he's throwing out that big lineup, you should expect the big lineup. But for what it is right now, I want to see more of it.
Yeah, and I think the other part of it is understanding who you have coming off the bench that can, replace D'Lo, right? If you're going to put D'Lo in the starting lineup, if Dante Exum's still injured, Brandon Williams is still injured, we saw him play a little bit, but, it's like, okay, well, if D'Lo is going to start, you're not going to play him 48 minutes a game. So if you play him 30, 32, who's going to be that backup point guard off the bench? Now with Dennis Smith Jr. being waived, if Exum and Williams aren't healthy, we'll get into this, but is it going to be Ryan Nembhard off the bench? Is that opening night? Is that going to be your backup point guard? Or are you going with your big lineup and then you're able to sprinkle in D'Lo at certain points of time where you need, maybe more shot creation, you need more playmaking, is it kind of a change of pace thing where you can put him in and alter the tempo of the game? I think that's going to be interesting to see as well.
Yeah, I like that point. I think it's going to be by committee. I really do, because when you think of D'Lo before training camp, before offseason, you figured, oh, hey, plug and player. He said it too, plug and player. Go in, assist the ball a little bit, but score. They need scoring, they need play creation. shot creation. But now that you think about it, it's really everybody can score, everybody can shoot, and I'm not saying they will against this top competition, because preseason is one thing, but when you're going against the best of the best every night, you might see something else. But I'm saying everyone has the green light to do it, and that's something that you might see, because Najee might play make, D'Lo, you got even Christie a little bit. I mean, you got a lot of guys who can come in and share the load. And I think that's what you'll see with the starting lineup, because you saw, even though everyone is saying Cooper's at the point, you saw PJ brought it up a lot more than Cooper. So it's like, I think it's just by committee, and I think Jason wants to see how that works. If it doesn't, I think he'll just plug in D'Lo and get at least some type of guard in there.
Yeah, and I think it's I think going back to last season, I think you kind of have an idea already of who can be those guys, right? We saw a little bit of that after February, after the trade deadline. We saw PJ bringing it up. We saw Najee kind of play de facto point guard. So I think there is some trust there with certain members of the team, that are on the roster. But to your point, I think it's going to be by committee, at least, to test out, right? And I think it helps that the Mavs have a relatively easy schedule to start with, right? Yes. I mean, really, your only major competition in the first month is Oklahoma City and Houston, right? Everyone else is non-playoff teams or play-in teams from last year. So, the Mavs can get off to a pretty good start, hopefully, and be able to experiment with a little lineups and stuff as they get into the middle of November, where the schedule starts to pick up.
Yeah, and they're at home, so I think that will help them out too. Was it like 5-game homestand?
Yeah,
to start the season.
First 5 games are at home. Yep.
Okay, Shahnavaz. So you mentioned it a little bit, Ryan Nembhard. I mean, wow, talk about take advantage of your time on the court. I mean, 20 total assists to only 2 turnovers in all of preseason. And he had that one game with 12 assists. Just with the time that he's had on the court, what's been your thoughts on him and in his playing, during preseason?
He reminds me so much of Jalen Brunson. I think I tweeted this out. I said he looks like the point guard of the future for the Mavs. I mean, I think if Kyrie can take him under his wing, he's got the skill set. He's one of those guys that spent 4 years in college. He's his brother, obviously Andrew Nembhard, played on the Pacers. He led NCAA in assists last year. Why he went undrafted, I don't know, because I thought he was a really good player at Gonzaga. You come from a program like that with Mark Few, who's one of the best college coaches, in the history of college basketball. He's got the pedigree. I think the only knock on him is his size, but I think his shooting, but he still shot 37.5% from 3, in preseason. So we saw glimpses of what he could be, and he just has that confidence. We saw it out of Jalen Brunson, another guy who spent 4 years in college. When he came in, a guy that was a second-round pick that a lot of people thought could have gone first round. Nembhard, a lot of people were surprised that he went undrafted. I think the biggest thing for Ryan Nembhard is going to be the fact that Dante Exum and Brandon Williams are hurt. And I think he's going to. I think, to your point, with quote unquote the dress rehearsal game that we saw, the fact that Nembhard got meaningful minutes, I think shows that Jason Kidd's got trust in him. And I think we're going to see him in the rotation a lot earlier than we expect. The question is, because he's on a 2-way deal, he can only play 50 games. So that's going to be kind of that's going to be the hard part of this, is because we saw Kessler Edwards last year run out of games to play, towards the end of the year with all the injuries that the Mavs had. So
yeah,
it's going to be interesting to see how they manage that and the growing trust that Jason Kidd has in him. But I think he looks exceptional. I mean, he reminds me a lot of Jalen Brunson, just the confidence, the playmaking ability. He looks like he's a better passer than Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson's obviously a pure scorer right now. But coming out of college, I mean, Jalen Brunson was kind of thought of as this small-ish point guard that, could be your sixth man, and I think that's what a lot of people think of Ryan Nembhard. But with that kind of confidence and that, his ability that he's got to see the floor and the assist to turnover ratio, I mean, I think he's going to make a dent in this rotation real quickly.
Yeah. And I think he, like you mentioned, he might have to.
Yeah.
With B. Will just getting back into form, because you got to remember, like he just got back into form. So it's going to take him a little longer to get back to playing shape and for, this competition. So it might take him a little bit, or he might just go out the gates and play 15 minutes, But, like you said, with Exum's uncertainty, he might have to be the emergency guy. And that's what's tricky. Like you said, 50 games. I mean, he can be in the rotation, but once you get the middle of the season, you're like, dang, now I got to pick dates, like tour dates. And that's not a good way to have someone in the rotation, especially when it might be needed in the latter half of the season. Or because you don't know when Kyrie's coming back. So
Right.
you also don't want to rush him back. So he might come back for the last month of the season. You want him to be okay. You want him to be not just okay physically, but mentally. You got to be in a mind space where, hey, I'm coming back from a big injury, so I got to be comfortable how I land. How I do things, and he looks great right now. But obviously, just playing wise, defense, like there's a lot of movement, so you want him to be comfortable coming back. But I from what I've seen, I definitely like him, and I definitely think they need to make him a standard contract as soon as they can. Obviously, with salary cap stuff, there's things that you have to wait for, like the later half of the season.
Yeah.
Or even at the end of the season, you got to put him on a standard contract, because I agree with you. There's talent there. The only flaw is his size, and obviously a little bit of defense. But I mean, it's the NBA. There's a lot of players that don't really play defense. He at least puts an effort in his size. There's a thing with size. You can combat size by IQ.
Yep.
And that's what he does. He does that very well. When you see guys like Brunson, you see guys like JJ Barea, you see guys like that. Chris Paul. I mean, look at Chris Paul. Obviously, he's the upper echelon of guys of that size, but look how he can use his, the flaw of his size with IQ. All those guys that play in the NBA that are under 6 feet, they use their IQ to combat that. It's really not athleticism as much. It's about knowing how to play, and I think he does. With him, his biggest strength is passing, which is incredible to see. Because I asked Kid how refreshing is that, because nowadays, especially offensively in guards in the league, their biggest strength is shooting or scoring. Yep. Then the anomaly is defense. So the fourth, you really don't see a guy whose biggest strength is passing. And that's so rare these days, because in the 2000s, in the 90s, point guards were passers, and that's what's rare. And that's what's so, beautiful about his game, because it's really a throwback to a point guard. He's really setting the table, making it easy for guys. And then when you see the players on the team, you got a lot of guys who could be set up. So that's why he exceeds when he's on the court. And I think he's a special player. I see him more of as a Tyus Jones.
Yeah.
Because when you look at Tyus Jones, you see he's not really an athletic player. He's not really using his speed. He's not really finishing in the paint. Like, he's setting players up. When he's on the court, he's making every guy's job easier, and his assist to turnover ratio every year is like 4-1.
Yeah.
It's crazy, because he doesn't make bad plays, and that's what I see with Ryan Nembhard. If his scoring ability was a little better, because I see the maturity, I see the game a lot of players see in him, but I see JJ, I see Jalen as better scorers. And I think Ryan's better passer. So that's why I see Tyus Jones in him. But Kid also said, hey, that could also help his scoring when defensives say, hey, he's going to pass the ball. And then you're wide open. And then he makes a shot, like you said, 37.5 from 3. So I really like the trajectory, as long as the Mavs give him some rain in the games that he plays. Because he's not really a guy that you could just throw at the end of the game and he only plays 5 minutes, especially when he has selective games. So you can't even waste a game like that. So I think if you're going to play him, you got to play him where Brandon Williams is out, or you got to play him where he's out now. So you got to play him where, you need him. That's when I think you should play him.
And I think, I talked about the schedule earlier. I think one thing that was a little frustrating for me, at least, last year and really the last couple of years with Jason Kidd is even when the Mavs have a lead going into the fourth quarter, you're continuing to play the starters, until there's 3 minutes left in the game. It's like you've got an opportunity here where you've got enough depth where you can give your guys a rest. Guys like AD, Lively, play Nembhard the whole fourth quarter, right? See, even with with some of the bench players, right? Give them that ability to go out there and dictate the offense, and the best way you're going to learn is playing in the game, right? I mean, there's one, it's one thing to learn it in practice and training camp and preseason, but getting game action is really where it's going to, you're really going to grow. And, you talk about him not, obviously the scoring is kind of not his strong suit, but that can be learned, right? We saw Jalen Brunson when he came in the league, wasn't averaging a lot, right? And we saw his game slowly grow. And as soon as he got his opportunity in that playoff series against Utah, he took it and ran with it, and I think that's kind of the trajectory, hopefully, that we see with Ryan Nembhard. I mean, I'm not saying he's going to become Jalen Brunson because Jalen Brunson's a MVP candidate every single year now. Oh, yeah. But, if he's what he was in Dallas, even, coming off the bench, I mean, that's what you need, right? You need another ball handler. As Kyrie kind of goes into the twilight of his career these next 2-3 years, you need a guy that's going to come in and kind of take the reins, right? Is Ryan Nembhard that guy? You've got him in the building. It's just a matter of, can you develop him? And I'm sure Kyrie can take him under his wing and kind of teach him, and very much like he did with Jaden Hardy, but it seems like Ryan Nembhard can kind of grasp that a little bit better and has that, there's something about him. You watch a player and you're like, there's something about this guy that just looks different. It looks like he understands that he sees the floor, better than everybody else who's on there, regardless of how old he is. That's what I get. That's the vibes I get when I watch Ryan Nembhard play. Is he sees things before they're going to happen, right? Some of those that alley-oop to Derek Lively that he had on the fast break was like, that's a Chris Paul pass. That's a Steve Nash pass, right? That's seeing that, and it's like, okay, that kind of vision is something the Mavs don't have.
Yeah, and he has the best guys to learn from. I mean, he has Kyrie Irving and Jason Kidd. I mean, those are two guys.
There you go.
That you can learn from because, off the ball, you can learn from on the ball. You can learn scoring opportunities because Jason Kidd, I mean, he was one of the best passers, but he was also he could get some buckets. So I mean, those are two great guys that you can learn from. I'm a little worried about the G League because once you think about it, oh yeah, you can go down to the G League and tear it up. You can score 20 points a game. You can get 10 assists every game, but it's like for his type of player, I really don't like the G League, because he's really a high IQ, a pro offense. Like he really is a set guys, set the table up in the G League. When you watch those games, everybody's like, I got to get 20 points a game. I'm trying to make the league. I got to get 20 points a game. So like, it's like, can you really develop? That's a whole nother podcast because I mean, can you really develop at the G League level if you think about that in multi layers? Because once players go down there, their mindset is to get buckets and get back to the league. And I really wish the identity of the league would shift into a more of a, hey, we are a professional league. We're not a development league anymore. Like, we can sign players from overseas, but that obviously has to do with a lot of salary cap and other issues. But, pay you pay more, you get better quality. But right now, it's a lot of guys who are working 9 to 5s who are trying to get back into the league or get, paid overseas or something. So that's, for Ryan Nembhard's game, I'm really trying to see, will he really develop? I think he would develop more by being with the Mavs in practice and being in the games, like you said, fourth quarters or when the lead's up, because now you see Jason can have more comfort in having a Najee, having a Christie, having, having these guys who can Cooper, guys who can play in the fourth quarter. Miles Kelly, I mean, he can hoop too.
Yeah, Miles Kelly.
He's a shooter. He's a defender. He really plays really well. A 3-and-D guy. But that's one of my questions is, if you're a two-way guy, you're going to spend time with the G League too.
Yeah, it's inevitable. I mean, you have to, right? There's only a limit on so many games you can play.
But can you see him really, truly develop in the G League, his style?
No, and to your point, I the G League is not what it should be, right? We've seen players go down there and just throw up numbers and get called back up and struggle.
Jaden Hardy.
Literally what I was.
Omax was hooping.
Yep.
In the G
Comes
League.
back up and then can't do anything, right? So, it also leads, we're so far away from this, but if Nembhard plays well, right, and the Mavs are in a position where it's, okay, we've got to give him a contract, that opens up where, okay, do you consider trading somebody, right, to make sure you can keep Nembhard, right? Do you offload a guy like Jaden Hardy or Caleb Martin or Daniel Gafford or something like that, right? Like there's options there where if it comes to the determination where we've got to pick and choose, and Nembhard has clearly proven that he's going to be a valuable piece of this team, then you start having those conversations of, okay, what do we have to do to make sure that we keep him in the building and not let him go?
Yeah, and we'll get to the next subject here, but we mentioned it with Jaden Hardy. Because he really didn't have the preseason that you expect, because then Ryan Nembhard is playing above him.
Yep.
And that's what we said is when you're in the spot, this is pretty much your last chance to solidify, not your last chance in the league, not your last chance with the Mavericks, but last chance to solidify your rotation spot, because he relied on him a lot in that playoff run. And last year. So when you see that, this is really when you see them bring in guys, D'Lo, Brandon Williams, they even brought back Exum, and now you see Ryan Nembhard and even Miles Kelly. Like you're seeing guards come in the building. This is really your last chance. They're even playing Cooper Flag at guard. So that's another guy that you're thinking about.
What does that say about Jaden Hardy?
That's what I'm trying to say, because why isn't it him starting?
Yeah.
You gotta say, hey, I'm gonna be the starter. We're missing a guard. Let me start, because then you got Christie too. I'm thinking about all these guys ahead of you. And that preseason, he did what he had to do, but he didn't outshine people. And that's what preseason is about. Even if it's preseason, or hey, who you're playing against might be starters for 5 minutes, and then you're playing against guys who won't even make the team for 5 minutes. You gotta ball out, because now you're in a situation where, hey, I'm going to get DMPs every night, but I also can't get traded to another team and get to play. So now they're stuck. Both sides. The Mavericks are stuck, and now Jaden Hardy's stuck. And then you got that contract. So it's like, man.
That's the tough part, right? Because you paid him. So you kind of got to, I feel like, yeah, he's on his last chance for sure, right? You bring in so many guards ahead of him, and if you're Jaden Hardy, you got to be sitting there being like, what is going on? But it's also his own fault, right? Like we talked about it with Josh Green. He never sees his opportunity.
Yeah.
Jaden Hardy's had that chance for years. He's had that chance. We've been super high on him, hoping that he could kind of take the reins and be a more efficient Tim Hardaway, if necessary. But he just hasn't. He makes bad passes. It seems like his head's not in the game sometimes. We knew he's streaky, but some of the things he does, it's just like, what are you doing? Like, you can't be making that pass. You can't turn the ball over there. You can't, Yeah. So I think you're right. And you can even play Najee at guard now, right? We saw it last year.
Another guy.
That's 4 or 5 guys that you can easily play ahead of Jaden Hardy. And so if you're Hardy, you're kind of like, all right, I gotta seize this opportunity, because to your point, even if it's auditioning for another team, you've got to show something. Otherwise, who's going to come and get you, right? Who's going to come trade for you? Nobody's going to want you if you're not showing that you're capable of making a contribution.
Yeah, and that's why you see why Jason Kidd loves Ryan Nembhard so much. Yep. He goes in there and he doesn't make a bad play. Like whatever he does, it's in the flow of the offense, and it's a play that you would want to see as Jason Kidd. All right, so Shahnavaz, the last topic, season predictions. Where do you see the Mavericks finishing up in the Western Conference? MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, Coach of the Year, Sixth Man, and Rookie of the Year. So let's start with where the Mavs will finish in the Western Conference, which is a loaded conference.
It's a tough one. I'm going to assume that the Mavs are relatively healthy. I don't think we're going to get situations where, outside of Kyrie, where we're going to get players missing. Obviously players are going to miss time, but I'm not, nobody's going to play full 82 games, but hopefully, fingers crossed, relative health. I think if that happens, the Mavs finish, I'd say with the 5 seed. I'll go with 5. I think I'm okay with that.
Okay.
I think I'm comfortable with the 5 seed. I think with Kyrie out, it's hard to kind of expect anything more, right? If Kyrie were in, I wouldn't shock me if the Mavs were a top 3 seed. I think without Kyrie, there's going to be some adjustment. There's a learning curve there for the first few months. Depending, we've talked about it. What the lineup is. How do you figure out what your rotations are? I think as that happens, the Mavs will start to play better. But the West is loaded. There's a lot of teams that have continuity. There's a lot of teams that have made some really good moves in the offseason to get better. You've obviously got the defending champs, at the top of the conference. So, yeah, give me the Mavs in the 5 seed. I think they stay out of the play-in. They don't get home court, but, they're comfortably in the playoffs, and they don't have to worry about, fighting for a play-in spot.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, that's tough to predict, with Kyrie's situation, because he could come back in January, and they got plenty of time with Kyrie, or he can come back, in March. So there's is there some uncertainty with his timeline? Because then that would, change the trajectory of the team. So I'm thinking this is tough. Because there's also uncertainty without Kyrie.
Yep.
Is AD going to be AD? Is Cooper going to be a top 30 player his first season? Or is he just going to, have ups and downs? So there's different seedings that you can do for this team. The range is big.
Yeah, it's huge.
The range is big. But what I'm going to focus on is what the players are saying, the identity of the team, defense. If you see this team as, well, they're saying they want to be at worst top 3, at worst. But realistically, I'm seeing them, if they're a top 10 team, top 10 defensive team, they obviously are going to be good. Because the offense is going to come when you're a defense player, a defensive team, especially transition. I mean, they have a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
The 3-point shot is a concerning thing for me, like you mentioned. But I think if you're a top 10, if you're a top 5 defensive team, I mean, I'm gonna really put stock into them. But just from what I've seen, I think the chemistry's right, which is good. I think being at home will be much better. They'll have a much better record in playing at home. So I think, because right now I'm leaning towards 6, but I think they could jump up to 4th. And that's why you have a 5th.
I got a 5th, yeah.
Right in the middle. So I'm going to be safe and choose 5th, because I feel risky by saying 4th. But I think realistically they could be 6th. So I'm going to say 5th too.
5th? All right, let's go. Let's do it.
Too. But next year,
I
see them being top 3.
Top 3, yeah.
Next year. There's no doubt about being top 3 next year.
Yeah, 100%.
Okay, Shahnavaz, MVP, who you have?
I've thought this for the last few weeks. It's going to be Jokic. He's on a mission. I think Embiid shouldn't have won that last one, but the year before it should have been Jokic. I think the moves that Denver's made, I think in my mind, I think they're the best team in the conference. I'd put them ahead of OKC. I'm a big believer in what they did this offseason to help Jokic. Even with the struggles that his team has, he still puts up his numbers. I mean, he's the best player in basketball, in my opinion. I think he's going to finish top 2 for sure, and I think he's going to win it this year. Yeah,
I have Jokic as well. Like all the things that you mentioned, I think Cam Johnson was a huge.
That's addition. A huge move. I love that move for them.
Everyone keeps talking about the bench pieces, which is valid, because that's huge too.
That was their problem, right? Is they didn't have bench. Now you've got Tim Hardaway, you got Bruce Brown back. Cam Johnson's taking over for Michael Porter. I mean, that team is loaded.
And then just the development with Watson and Brown. But those two just keep getting better every year. In JV, Valanciunas.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be helpful too, because the guy that they pay, what was his name, Najee.
Zeke Najee.
Zeke Najee. I mean, he really hasn't turned out after that contract. So now they have a real true backup big. And JV got some game. I mean, he's very underrated because he plays on bad teams.
Yeah,
But I
now
think
we get to see what he look, and Julian Strother is up and coming. I mean, they got some
Stroud, I
good.
forgot about him.
Yeah, they got some good pieces there.
Yeah, and they always play good with Bruce Brown. He's just energy piece. Okay, yeah, I have him as well. But when you saw the game last night with the Lakers dress rehearsal, I mean, it could be Luka because those players he's playing with. My goodness.
Hey, we saw with the Mavs. If the Lakers don't finish with the top 3 seed, are you going to give Luka the MVP? Like
that's true. I mean, he's never been a top 4 seed, and I don't think he will be. With just watching that, and then the uncertainty with LeBron.
Yeah, he's going to miss the first week, 2 weeks of the season. I mean, Ayton got hurt, I think, last night. Dalton Connect looks lost after they tried to trade him.
And we haven't even mentioned, I think, who's going to be second place, who might be first again, SGA.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I would put SGA up there for sure.
If they get a top 2, or if they get first again, with the Nuggets, I think it's going to come down to those two, SGA and whoever gets first seed, they're going to give it to.
I agree. Yep, 100%.
Okay, so Coach of the Year.
Ooh. That's a tough one.
You want me to go first this one?
Yeah, you go first on this one because I got 2 people in mind, but I want to see what you say.
Jamal Mosley.
That's where I was going. That's exactly where I was going.
They got everything they need in your guy now, Bane, coming over there. So I think they're gonna, especially in a down year, of the East. I think it's the Pacers going to be out. The Celtics are going to be struggling. So it's really the Knicks and the Cavs. So I think the Magic could be the 3rd seed, or they could push the Knicks for 2nd seed. Because I think truly Jamal Mosley is going to be the Coach of the Year because that team is always a dog on defense, and they just needed some shooting. And I think Bane's going to light it up. I think he's going to have a career year. I think he's going to be an all-star. But that whole team is loaded now because you got, Franz and you got Paolo. So now you got Bane who's going to have a career year, and Suggs is coming back.
If Suggs is back,
there you go.
If Suggs is back, that team defensively is going to be a menace.
And they got Tyus Jones.
If Jonathan Isaac can stay healthy. Yeah, Isaac can stay healthy. I mean, jeez.
Mo is back. Wagner. So I think this team is destined for a top 3, maybe top 2, surprise everyone. And I think that would bring Mosley to Coach of the Year.
Yeah, I agree with you. The other one I was leaning towards was Ime Udoka, with the moves the Rockets made. But I think losing Fred VanVleet is huge for them because
That's his best man.
You don't have a true point guard now. I mean, is Amen Thompson going to be your point guard? They have a lot of questions surrounding that, but the Rockets are going to be good. I mean, I don't doubt that. I question that losing Fred VanVleet, I think, is going to hurt more than people realize. And I think, especially with the way the East is right now, with literally 3 teams, this is a perfect time for Orlando to come back, and with the retro jerseys back, that's super exciting. So it's awesome to see.
Okay, so you're going with the same pick?
I'll go with Mosley. Yeah.
Okay. Defensive Player of the Year.
I feel like we're going to be aligned on this. Just give it to Wemby. Just rename it the Wemby Award and just give it to him until he retires.
Yeah, this is quick. I agree. I mean, we saw Gobert have it a few years. Now we're going to see Wemby have 5 years in a row. It's going to be tough. It's going to be, if he stays healthy, it's going to be, that's the thing, meeting the amount of games. So he does have to play those games.
I think we're assuming that, they qualify, right?
Yes. If there's no layers to this, it's definitely Wemby. I don't see anyone challenging him for that at all.
Yeah, I don't know who. I mean, Evan Mobley, Giannis, maybe
those two. If 80 is 80, he has a career year. It's hard to be a career year with him, but if he's 80, he could be up there too. It's usually those 3
on-ball guys like Amen Thompson, Dyson Daniels. You've got
Dyson Daniels.
But I just think Wemby's impact defensively, it's just you can't understate it. Just his length, his size. I mean, it's if he can qualify for it, I think it's his.
Yeah, if he gets 3 blocks a game and just the impact that he has. I'm aligned with you there. Okay, so 6th man of the year. Ooh.
Ooh, this one's tough because it's always dependent on, what your rotation's going to be. I'll let you take this one first. How about that?
Well,
I know where you were leaning towards.
yes, it depends on the lineups because if Kid's gonna choose this big lineup, it depends. If this goes all the way to Kyrie, like if it works and it goes all the way to Kyrie, then I'm done for because I had PJ Washington. Just from what we've seen in preseason and him being okay with being off the bench. I mean, he did it with Hornets, but it's a different thing going to a winning team. You were on a finals team as a starter. You were the third best player. And then, you get the number one pick, Cooper Flag, come in and really take your job, but then you get paid and you're getting paid and you're at home. So I think with those layers and you're happy. That's the biggest thing. You're happy. As long as you're still going to get your minutes, it's going to be the same, but you're coming off the bench. And he was a spark when he did because he was very aggressive. We talked about it. He was very aggressive at the rim. He was just an instant spark. And, when he starts, he really waits his turn, with the other guys because he's always a third or fourth guy. So, but when you're off the bench, you're the first guy. You're like coming in there, hey, impact the game. So I had PJ Washington, but if he doesn't, it's tough because what happened to six man around the league?
Yeah, it's hard. I was gonna go chalk on this and just say Naz Reid, because he's always. But I think I'm gonna go a little bit deeper into the bag here.
Okay.
I think I'm gonna go Jordan Clarkson.
Oh,
I think now he's on the Knicks.
On a winner.
Finally on a winner. I think the Knicks need depth. I think he's going to get playing time. I think we know what he can do off the bench. I think we're going to see a rejuvenated Jordan Clarkson after spending years in Utah. And the Knicks, with their lineups, they're lanky and weird, and they don't really have a true shooting guard. I think Josh Hart and Bridges are more forwards anyway, so.
Yeah,
I think Clarkson's going to get a lot of play next to Brunson, some of those small lineups, and he'll probably be the lead guard off the bench with McBride. So, I think I'll give it to Jordan Clarkson. I think we've seen him do it before. Now he's on a winner. So let's go deep in the bag and pick him.
Yeah, I like that pick. Dang. Well, yeah, I had PJ. If he moves back to the bench, I have PJ, and if he doesn't, I think I'm gonna go with Naz Reid. I like that pick because the Timberwolves are always a great regular season team. They even do good in the playoffs, but they just fall at the end. I'm gonna go Naz Reid because I think they can shock people. I think they could be a third seed again, or a top three. I think they can be a surprising team because they're bringing back all their players. And Dillingham is going to get more time. I really like Dillingham. He can hoop.
I like him.
Terrence Shannon, he can hoop too. So I think the young guys are going to give him a big lift. I think Naz Reid. I'm gonna go with Naz Reid.
If you're confident in your PJ pick, it's plus 3,000 for him to win Sixth Man of the Year. You put $100 down and he wins it.
And then he plays every game until Kyrie comes back.
Yeah, then you're only out $100. It's fine.
All right. This might be just like the defensive player of the year, rookie of the year. Who do you have?
Cooper Flag.
No words needed.
Done and done. That's it.
Yeah, I have Cooper Flag as well. He's going to get the minutes. He's going to get the ball, and he's the number one pick. The talent is there, but the maturity is there. Like I think a lot of players are confusing his maturity to earlier because he's now showing a little bit of personality, but I think they confuse his maturity to not wanting to be in Dallas or not wanting to be surrounding the Luka after effect. But he's just like Klay Thompson. He's very serious. You don't see him smile a lot unless he every now and then he jokes around, but it's just a different vibe. Like he's just like Klay Thompson. He's kind of like Derek Lively. Like you'll see him joke around a little bit, but he's mostly serious and mature.
Yeah,
very media trained as well.
That's what happens when you go to Duke and when you're you're a high school kid playing against NBA players. I think you kind of get groomed to that. I think his parents set him up well. They taught him well when he's been the future of the league for years, since he was in high school. So I think he's got, he understands what it is. Yeah, and the fact that he's 18, he's not going to be 19 till December. I mean, there's a maturity there. And I agree. I think there was a lot of concern coming out where it was like, it seems like he doesn't want to be in Dallas. It's hard after everything that's happened. But, all the reports from his trainer who said Dallas was the one place where when they won the lottery, who said that's perfect. Like, that's exactly, the type of situation that we want him to be in. I think he fits perfectly. He'd fit on any team, to be honest. But when you've got guys to learn from, like a Clay, where if your weakness as Cooper Flag is shooting, who better to learn from than Kyrie Irving and Klay Thompson, right? Like, that's really your deficiency, and you've got two of the best shooters of all time at your side to teach you. So it's a perfect situation for him. I don't doubt that he's happy here, and I like the fact that it's not, from a young kid like that, it's easy to come in and just say, okay, I'm going to, but he knows it's about winning. He knows his team wants to win. He wants to win. You got to like that seriousness.
Yeah, I think the two best places were Dallas and the Spurs. I mean, for him, because no one wants to go to the Wizards. No one wants to go to the Hornets.
Or the Jazz.
Or the Jazz or the Pelicans. Like, those
Kings, good God. Kings are a mess.
Those are teams that you really have to deal with the chaos instead of basketball. And I think with Dallas or the Spurs, he would just come in and just focus on basketball instead of losing every game, and where you have to put up 30 shots. You have to shoot every time you get it. Instead of now, he shoots because he wants to. Yeah. And that's what I think is the biggest difference, his confidence. You even see it with the 3-point shot. He's gaining true confidence in his shot, and where it just makes his all-around game even better. And I think that's scary, because I think he does have the potential to be a top 30 player right out the gate, especially with the ball in his hands. And I think, when Kyrie comes back, it's just even better all around, because now he had the opportunities to have the ball and to put up buckets, as well as his defensive upside. So I think it's going to be just better for him all around, and that ultimately makes the Mavs better.
Yep, 100%.
Okay, Shahnavaz, last word.
Well, let me ask you this. One more. Yeah. Who's your NBA champion?
Why you got to do that to me, man?
I got mine.
Just from going off of last season and what happened in the off season, this is going to be tough, because I'm going to boil it down to the MVPs. I mean, the MVP candidates. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be whoever wins between the Thunder and the Nuggets. And I think that is the champion. So if I had to choose one right now, I will go with the defending champs, with OKC. Just now that they got over the hump and they're a very young team, now they got the experience of being a champion. So there's nothing like winning a championship, but there's nothing like getting that taste of a championship and you want that feeling again. Yeah. Especially SGA. He wants, because he gets doubted a lot. And he does go to the free throw line a lot, but I think speaking of maturity, he's just like Cooper Flag is just like SGA. Yeah, you don't see him joke around a lot. He's very business minded, and he wants to win. And he wants to be the best player he can be. So I think he wants to collect as many MVPs and championships as he can, and I think he's trying to build his legacy. So I would say the Thunder.
I'm gonna go the other way and go Denver.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
Yeah, I have a feeling this is going to be just Jokic's best year. I think with everything that's happened last year, I don't know. It's just one of those feelings. I think they made the right moves around him. It reminds me a lot of their championship teams with their depth. Yeah. Now, finally, that they have it. I think that was their biggest thing was, they needed depth. We've seen Jamal Murray play really, really well in the playoffs. Mm-hmm. Obviously, Jokic is a baller. I think he wins another MVP, he wins another Finals MVP, and then you start the discussion: is he top 10 all time?
Ooh, so you're doing, and that's something that we can come back to.
If he's got 3 MVPs, 3 titles, that's
you kind of have to.
You kind of have to put him up there.
And that's what's so tough about ranking someone who's still playing. Yeah, you kind of want to wait till he's done. But you kind of have to. It's like Steph. People rank Steph up there, so you got to, and obviously LeBron. Bobby, he's in every ranking, at the top 1 or 2. So it's like you kind of have to put Jokic in there. And it's tough because you got some heavy hitters when you hit top 10.
Yeah.
Like no one
It's a
talks
hard
about
conversation.
Duncan. He's at the bottom of the top 10, but he's really, if you look at what he's done, his overall impact, his stats, his accolades, he should be borderline top 5.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's a good choice. And so you basically have him having the same season as SGA, last year, where you get MVP, Finals MVP, championship,
Yep.
All NBA. So
I think it's in the cards for Denver, assuming health. I think the champ is coming out of the West. I don't think the East is going to win.
Yeah.
We got 3 teams in the East that they really have a legit shot at even making the championship. So,
but I would like to see the Cavs step up. Like, don't be the Minnesota Timberwolves, which y'all been doing. Like regular season, or don't be the Atlanta Hawks that were so good in the regular season. Remember, for like 4 years straight. And then playoffs, like you got to step up. You have the talent. Mobley is like hitting another layer here, where he's not just a defender. He's not just an all-star. He's a top 10. You got to see that side of Mobley. And Donovan, he had his best year, but his stats were ultimately the worst. I mean, just like numbers, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, like, that's good. More team ball.
Exactly. So I think if they're healthy, because they had a little injury bugs, and Lonzo, he's playing good there as the backup. I think they could really shine and make a finals. I think they can outperform the Knicks. So, like I agree with you. Whoever comes out, the Thunder and Nuggets is going to win. So that's a no-brainer for me and a no-brainer for you. All right, Shahnavaz, last word. Season opener. What are you looking for? Because it's Wednesday, so it's before our pod. So what do you look forward to, and what's one thing that you really want to look on or focus on in the season opener from the Mavs perspective?
It's the rotation. It's the minutes. I think that's the biggest thing, right? We've talked about it so much, over the last couple of weeks. That's the one thing we don't know, right? We know the health status of most everybody outside of Dante Exum and Brandon Williams, but we're core players. I think we know where everyone lies, health wise. I think we have a good idea as to what the rotation is going to be, but are you going to go big and put Cooper at the point guard and bring D'Lo off the bench, or are you going to start it with D'Lo and then, is Nembhard coming off the bench as your backup point guard? Are you going to run Najee at the point? I think that's going to be the most interesting thing to see, because it's going to show, I think especially first game, you're going to see which lineup Kid trusts the most, right? Because I think that's the one he's going to throw out there first. And then you kind of start tweaking it from there, right? Your experimenting's done. You're going to have to go with your gut and say, okay, this is what I think is going to be our best lineup. Throw that out there and then assess whether you need to make changes or not. But I think that's going to be, come tip off or before the game when the lineups are announced. I think that's going to be the most interesting thing. That's what I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, I was going to say that. But since you said it, I'll change my answer. I think all the eyes are on Cooper and Wemby. That's the future of this league, if you really think about it. Even though Luka is still young, Anthony Edwards is still young.
Yeah.
You got players, even a little bit of Tyrese. I mean, he was getting some shine when he was in that playoff run. You got a lot of young players in this league, but I'm talking about the young players, and Cooper and Wemby. I think they are the next generation of this league. That's what they're projected to be, and they're not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for AD. AD to really take the shine from Cooper and Wemby.
I like it.
To show people, hey, y'all were talking about my preseason. Hey, y'all were talking about my body. Hey, I'm still AD, and I'm going to lead this team to be a top 4 team. Like, I don't, there is no uncertainty. I want him to show, hey, when Kyrie comes back, he's going to make us even better. But until then, we're still going to be good. So that's what I want AD to really show people, like he did, and just have a healthy game, and just put up all the numbers you can and show and dominate, really, truly dominate. Even get a poster on Wemby, like show people you are still AD.
Yeah. I like it.
All right, Shahnavaz. I mean, it could go the opposite way.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see.
The anticipation for next podcast episode could go in so many different ways. And I mean, it is just the first game or two of the season, but it's still that gives you the first impression of what you see in this season. And it really shows you, are you going to hit first, or are you just going to wait a few games and see how things go? Like, it really shows you who's going to hit first, and that's what you want to see with this Mavericks team. All right, we appreciate everyone joining in and tuned in. You see our user handles. Make sure you follow us on social, on X, Twitter, whatever you call it, and we appreciate y'all tuning in. All right, goodbye, everyone.